Look, I know that Christians aren't supposed to do magic, but there is a reason that the apprentices that come and join us here at the company accomplish in 2 years what it takes normal people decades to do. And it's because I have a magic word. But today, I'm going to tell you all about it. My name is Brad Paquette, and this is the Company Podcast. One of my favorite things is to see how much the apprentices here at the company grow and change over their 2 years with us. Most of our apprentices start this program when they're in that 18 to 25-year-old range. Not all of them, but almost all of them. Some of them are fresh out of high school. Most of our apprentices were homeschooled, but they very courageously show up to us here at the company, and everything is new. Writing every day is a huge challenge. Launching a public persona like a blog and social media is terrifying. Just doing regular things like paying bills is an enigma wrapped in a mystery. If I ask them to make a phone call, that just might be a death sentence. And of course, I'm being dramatic. Each apprentice is different. Some of them are comfortable with some things, but not others. But all of them find a challenge in part of what we do here. And that's a huge part of the value, is that they have to step into things more quickly than they otherwise would. Some things come easily, but some things feel absolutely overwhelming. If I'm in your shoes as somebody that follows our podcast, watches our videos or whatever, I think it would be really easy to see what our second year apprentices do. Things like publishing books, releasing weekly content, being guests on podcasts, launching new projects, even stuff like sharing the gospel. And to think, gosh, I could never do that. I could never launch a podcast. I could never write a novel from scratch in 10 weeks. That's impossible. I could never be vulnerable in my writing and just put it out there like I see these people doing. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. They couldn't do that either. When they showed up, they couldn't do any of those things either. But they were brave enough to say yes to that first step of showing up, and then they kept showing up. Those things that seem overwhelming, challenging, or terrifying in your life, I promise you that if you challenge yourself, you will grow in those things naturally over time. If you challenge yourself to grow and learn, 10 years from now, you'll be a completely different person than you are right now. That'll happen little by little. When the apprentices come here to the company in Cambridge, Ohio, their growth is much faster than they would experience little by little on their own, because I empower them with a simple one-word phrase. This is my magic word. And that magic word is today. That's it. That's all I say sometimes is today. Our apprentices grow step by step by little step, just like, somebody that stays at home would, but those little steps happen at a much faster rate. When you're trying to become an author on your own, you might be ready to launch a blog, for instance, and over many months, you'll kind of pick away at it and work yourself up to it. Each step may take weeks or months of researching, learning, growing, and also emotionally psyching yourself up to do that, so that you can execute the next step and then move on to the next one. As an apprentice here, you do those same steps, the growing, the learning, the research, the psyching yourself up, only they happen in days rather than weeks or months. There's no time for dilly-dallying. When I see that you've worked up to the next step and you're ready to do the next thing, we have a conversation and I say, today. There's my magic word, today. And then you go ahead and do the thing. And it also helps that while you're here, you're supported by expert instruction. So you do it right the first time, and you don't have to feel like you're guessing, but it's actually based on real experience in the industry. You know exactly what to do and how to do it right the first time. And so you just do it. And even though you had that trepidation and it felt a little uncomfortable, you do it, and it turns out that you're just fine. It turns out that you were ready. Of course, you can apply this same strategy at home. You don't need me to say today. Whatever that next baby step that you need to do to move forward on your writing journey, just attach that magic word to it today. But let me tell you this. I can attest to this from my own personal experience, but also what I see in our apprentices. It sure is helpful if somebody else says it. especially when that's somebody who is saying today and is pushing you to do that. It's especially helpful when that person has taken the time to get to know you, has helped you in the previous steps and you've seen the results, and also has learned just how hard that they can push you. It's especially helpful when that person who's going to tell you today has done the same thing themselves, has helped other people successfully do it, and is giving you all the support and professional instruction that you need to do it well. It's especially helpful when that person who is saying today actually loves you, but loves you enough to not let you sell yourself short, loves you enough to not let yourself just make excuses. And that's what you get at the company. If you think our apprentices are superstars, I agree. They're phenomenal and they amaze me every day. I hope that you are following them on social media. People like Noah J. Matthews and Vela Carmen. Check it out. See what they're up to. But even though they look like superstars and they have these cool projects that they're doing now, trust me that it didn't start that way. They started a little bit scared, a little bit in over their heads, a little bit hoping that they weren't making the biggest mistake of their lives to come and challenge themselves to do this. But even though they showed up a little bit scared and maybe a little bit in over their heads, they also showed up with faith. They had faith that God might have something for their writing. Faith that if they could just muster the courage to do it one step at a time, really good things might happen. They had faith that if they showed up, there might be a real community of people that get them, that understand this calling on their life and can relate to it in a real way. And here's the secret. Despite all of the things that they do now, they're still a little bit afraid. And they still have to hold on to that faith. They still have to take the next scary step one day at a time. I know this because, as it turns out, I'm still a little bit afraid. In the things that I do, I still need to hold on to that faith. Just like them, just like you, I still have to muster up and do the next scary thing, one thing at a time, and I have to do it today. Chances are that you are capable of way more than you think you are. So as it turns out, I'm looking for about 8 writers to join us this fall as apprentices who are ready to see if that's true, who are ready to see if they're capable of more than they think they are, if there was somebody that was willing to help them and willing to push them in just the right way. I'm looking for about 8 writers who are a little bit scared, who are not quite as confident as they'd like to be, but who are ready to muster up, take a step of faith, and courageously take one step at a time. Is that you? If it is, then there's something you need to do today. Take one small step and fill out an application for the company's apprenticeship. I want you to be courageous. The application isn't a commitment. It's just the next step to explore if the apprenticeship might be the right fit for you. It's not a commitment. It's just the beginning of a conversation. So you can find the application at writers.company, and we'll drop the direct link to the application in the notes as well. The best time to take that step to go look at the application and start filling in those boxes? The best time to do that? Today, as it turns out. Of course, if you have any questions about the apprenticeship or you want to come visit, we would love to answer your questions or schedule a time for you to come visit in person, or we can chat over Zoom. Just shoot us an email at info@writers.company. There's tremendous power in that one little magical word, today. It is such a better word than soon, or probably, or if, or as soon as. Whatever it is that scares you just a little bit, I want you to stamp it with that one word, today, and do it right now. You may be amazed at the progress you'll make.
Thank you so much for listening today. Please be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and leave us a review. This podcast was produced by Theo Paquette with help from the company. For help with your podcast, visit writers.company. We'd love to give you a hand.